Alright, so this time I thought we'd try something a bit different, which is a full-length ride-along with me on my F4 gear. So I'm on the 95-litre Emona board, the 1022 original GP sonic foil, and a 150 tail with a half a degree of extra lift, and the 6.9 Maya version 3 wing, which is an absolutely beautiful thing. Cruising out in 6 to 16 knots of southeast wind up at Kiama, near the runway there that you can see, and the terminals and shipping ports on the far side. So first thing to note, it was a lot easier to get going than when I had the 5 metre wing and the 815 front foil. So, tip number one is just make sure you're on the right gear at the right day. There's no point going out underfoiled, underwinged and struggling the whole time. So really glad I went back into the beach and swapped the gear over, and unfortunately wasted an hour, but it was worth it to swap over and keep trying. First pump up was so much easier, and then this jibe got the wingtip out, and I was struggling with jibes all day, and I think part of the problem was going from the 815 to the 1000 wide from a 90 wide foil. The tips were just that little bit further outboard, a little bit closer to the surface, and I kept breaching the tips of the foils a lot more often, and I think that was affecting some of the turns. Also affecting me was a lot of ribbon weed, especially closer to the runway. There wasn't much out this side, but when we're doing some of those jibes, there were quite a bit of weed around, so that was a bit of annoying. So yeah, tried a bit of manoeuvre practicing. There's a wave comp coming up in a month, and I am nowhere near ready for that, but I thought I'd just psych myself up with a little bit of wave action, pretending to be an expert surfer. Clearly got a long way to go on that front, and I am not looking forward to any kind of shore break, so really not ready for wave riding at all. Anyway, bumping up, having a bit of fun, riding a bit higher, getting some speed on, going in for a nice little jibe again, face of concentration, get the wing around. Tried very carefully not to over rotate, keep the board pointing downwind a bit to maintain speed, but yeah, there just wasn't enough in it, and I tried to flip my feet too early with not enough speed. I really need to get used to foot pumping in switch stance when you've rotated around. I don't feel comfortable pumping in that twisted position, but it's something, skill that all the good riders have developed, and something that I need to pick up as well. Waiting around for gusts, a couple of big pumps. The Maya 3 is so solid with the 9.5 pressure that we can pump these wings up to. Just so solid when you pump them, they really don't move. It's so much more convenient. Really hang your body weight off it, pull the foil up vertically out of the water and get going so much easier. I really need a better harness. This harness hook is just a nightmare. It folds down nicely, which is good when you're crawling all over the board, but it is also always in the wrong position. But having the harness really does help you get some speed on. I wasn't really pushing for angles, just doing a bit of lawn mowing backwards and forwards here, but really easier, a lot easier to go upwind. Another foil breach, as you can see there, a lot of white water came onto the foil, all the aerated bubbles, so I had to abort that jibe and try again, and got the tip out again. So as you can see, one of the saves of the day. I don't know how I survived that. Got the wing right in front of the board, touching the water. I only just managed to pull it vertically out of the water so I didn't drive right over the top and crack into my wing and rip it to shreds. So really happy about that save. And then the foot swap afterwards was just diabolical. A couple of big pumps and using the swell to help me get up. And off we go again. Get into the harness, get away from the shipping lane. No point lingering around in front of oncoming vessels. So hightail, upwind, get out of there. Looking for those nice gusts to take some acceleration from when they come and hit. And as I said, it's only peaking about 16 knots, so pretty light winds. Looked more promising from the beach, of course, but you get out on the water and that's what you have. Cruising along, mostly upwind at this point, pretty comfortable. Nothing much happening, just enjoying the day. Such a nice day out. Check the surroundings, make sure that you're safe, and then, you know, it's always friendly to go and sail up near your mates, especially when you got the camera on. So grab a little video clip of everyone you can. It's always fun seeing yourself on the water. You might spot something that you're doing right or wrong. And yeah, so part of the reason I did this full ride along is I'm trying to learn as fast as possible, and if you spot me doing anything wrong, please tell me, because I really need to know. All hints and tips are welcome. So getting a bit of speed, nice little gust hit, cranking it, obviously not racer level, peaked at 19 knots today, and then the gust ended and hit a big lull, so unhooked so I could free my arms for some big pumps. Found a bit more of a gust, went into a jibe, full concentration face again. It's the only jibe I know. Flicked it around, complaining about being goofy switch, not able to pump enough. The wind drops and I drop. Managed to make that awkward foot swap. Checked in with Matt, had a bit of a chat about the advantage of the 6.9 over the 5, much more comfortable, much more power, and then we just commiserated each other about the lack of wind. Looking at the water ripples right near our boards, and it's probably down to 6 knots right now, maybe even 4, and those tantalizing gusts off in the distance. And one thing to note, if you're new to wind sports, is that onshore winds can be affected by land downwind, and so the land mass behind us is actually causing a bit of a back pressure and stopping the wind. Thankfully, there's a bit of a gust in the distance, and Matt gets his nice big foil and 6 metre and pumps up nice and efficiently. I'm bouncing, struggling with the wrong side of the waves, and collapse. No idea what actually caused that. I just got the wrong angle of the wave and fell in. One of the few edits I've done here is just cut out some of this water time when the camera's underwater. So back on my knees, quickly get onto the feet, so much more stable on the feet. But you just got to keep the board moving above 2 knots or 1 knot even. If it gets down to 0, that's when trouble happens, because that board's about neutral buoyancy with me. As you can see, it's almost fully underwater when I get really slow. So I want to keep that little bit of forward movement into the board so you don't sink. Give you a bit more comfort when you're going over the swells as well, because some of those will stop you. So keep that in mind. Keep your core on. The front foot strap really helpful in pushing the board forward when you're pumping. And I actually find the back foot really helpful for pumping as well, especially when it's marginal, because I like to pull upwards on the foot straps as I pump downwards with the wing above my head. Give myself some lightness into the foil so it comes up, and then as I push down, the foil can accelerate, and then do that a few times with some really big movements. Really helpful. As I said, don't always have to have the back foot in, and it's so much easier when there's wind, definitely. And it's kind of surprising how much wind you need to get onto the foil without pumping. I tried it a few weeks ago in some really strong winds with the 5 metre, and it worked, but it's quite difficult. Now here, I'm goofy. I don't like goofy. I'm a natural rider, so my little figure S's are nowhere near as powerful on my bad side as the good side, nowhere near getting the tips out. So I've got to work on becoming a bit more consistent in both directions, and that will help for wave riding, which I'm not doing, but also for manoeuvres on course on the racetrack. You're going to be going both directions all day, so it's good to be capable of flying in both directions. Nice little jibe there, just tip the crest of the wave. It's better than getting the tip of the foil out though. And I stayed in switch way too long. Probably should have switched earlier. Missed the foot strap, but survived. Off we go. Get the foot strap in, and I thought that was such a good job. I should have a little jump. Some nice airtime there. Landed with speed, and so went straight into some pretend swell riding, making the most of the little barely 30 centimetre 1 foot swell lines that were coming through. GoPro's shrinking them. Thought that was so much fun. Had another cheeky jump. So it's one of the things I love about winging. It's so much fun just getting out there and bouncing around, riding swells, getting some airtime, doing flips as I yell out to people. Not that I can do a flip. Cruising along, out of the harness for most of the day. Can't imagine windsurfing out of the harness. And wind foiling as well. I was so reliant on the harness pressure to keep the masts and foil under control. But with the wind wing, because you're standing more neutral over the foil, it's so much easier to just cruise around with no pressure in your arms nearly, especially on the big foils. And we're here, coming into a jibe, getting a bit high early, swing around. Something went wrong with that switch there, got a bit out of position, going a bit too slow. I don't know if this is going to work. No, that was the one. Went too slow, ran out of speed, needed a bit more skill to pump and keep that up in the air. Trying to avoid sinking the board there. You can see it got fully underwater. I was very lucky. Then bounce up on the wave. I think you can see the wave was right under me as I bumped up. That really helps in marginal conditions, just to use the swell. Straight in the straps and the harness, get some speed upwind. Like I said, not course racing at the moment, so not really pushing for those 45-degree angles or even higher that the guys are getting. I think if I want to do some more upwind angles, I need to cant the board a lot further over, and also get the harness line a bit shorter and bend the elbows. We jump next to friends, and oh no! That one I knew I was off position. I was leaning too far back, and when I landed, the board was away from me, and there was nothing I could do but fall back. So what's your favourite way to get up on the foil? I always try and get onto my knees straight away when I fall in. That time it didn't work. Leant too far back and the nose went up. But I'm just curious, what's your favoured way of getting up onto the board? I've seen some people sit on it and straddle it, but there's no way I can get my foot up in front of me and stand up from a seated position. So I do like to get onto the knees as soon as I get on the board, and then stand up as soon as I can. Now watch this pumping session. Why doesn't it work? What did I do wrong? Is it just because there's no wind? Looking at those ripples on the surface, it's very light. Was that all it was? Or was there something wrong with my technique? It's kind of interesting. Here we go again. Still struggling, can't quite get enough speed in. What I try to do, there's a big pocket of air behind the front strut of the wing. And so I try to pull that pocket of air towards my hips, and I try to pull my hips forward with my feet to push the board under me forward. And that's why I like having the front foot in the strap and the back foot in the strap towards the front, pulling against the strap. And that way I can use my feet to pull forward on the board while using that pocket of air behind the front strut and dragging that back towards me, and then trying to rhythmically get the wing forward as smoothly as possible without any flappy noise, so that I can then power again, and also, as I said before, use the wing above my head, especially the big ones. You have to put them above your head, otherwise the tips hit the water and you stall or crash or fall over them. So wing up above head as little as possible, pulling down as hard as possible, catch that pocket of air and pull the forward with that pocket while pushing the board under you forward. Seems to work most of the time for me. That's how I feel I'm doing it. But if you've got a better technique, I've watched most of the videos I can find.
Oh, there it goes.
Seems to work. But yeah, I mean, I failed to get on the wing and then nearly fell over a friend and then just ran out of speed. Got no momentum in the board and down she goes like a cork. But I think it's interesting how the other foil could fly past me going the other way while I was struggling to pump up onto the foil. So clearly there was enough to glide through the lulls. I think this was one of my most marginal pumping sessions. Barely had enough speed to keep the board flying, stalling out a couple of times on the journey, but persevered even though I was stalling, kept pumping hard, and managed to get the board up in that light wind mini gust. There was barely enough wind to keep flying, had to do some more bounces to keep it up, and then the gust hit now. I managed to relax, sheet in, get some speed on, and use that apparent wind to just accelerate away. Really is a beautiful recreational sport. I mean, look at this. Blue skies, clear enough water, beautiful day to be out having some fun with some friends and unknown friends. And this might be my worst jibe of the day. Checked, make sure no one was below me, went into the turn like normal. I think I got a bit of a wobble, that's why. Tip breached, got some air on the foil, and down we went. Was not ready for that. Back onto the knees, step up, get some speed onto the board, and just wait for the next gust. Ah, no, not enough speed. There she goes again. Alright, back on the knees. Wait for the wind. There's no point getting up early. There we go. Stand up and wait for the next gust. Sometimes I like to get the back foot in early just to prepare myself, because every time I move my back foot I notice the board nearly stops as well, so it's good to get in position as soon as you can. The other thing I do is try and push my foot right through the back strap so my toes are nearly on the far side of the board, so I can control both rails. That pump up was a bit easier, get some wind, cruise along, struggle with the leash, struggle with the harness, hooks moved with all those crashes, hook in, sheet in and go. And one of the things I was listening to on Lockie's YouTube was that you should try for speed slowly and gently, and not overdo it, not overexert, because it's when you put too much effort in that you crash. So instead, I'm just letting the speed come, waiting for the gusts, sheeting in a little bit harder, but not cranking it and just forcing everything to work. And just riding along, enjoying the day. This is a nice fun speed run before the camera stopped. So there you go, a bit of a reverse tutorial ride along on one of the original F4 wind wings that's no longer available. Let me know what I did wrong, post the comments and include a timestamp. Thanks.